First order down.
Come on!
This is not going to go the way you think.
And that is the problem people have with this movie.
Shall we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
This is not going to go the way you think. Michael Brown, you did a tweet a couple of weeks ago saying, you said, if there's going to be a tagline for The Last Jedi, that's going to be it.
Yeah.
And that ended up like on a billboard. Like, was it the Star Wars marketing picked up your tweet and put it on a billboard in L.A.?
Twitter marketing picked it up and put it on electronic billboards in Times Square and in Toronto.
Nice.
On the Friday opening of the movie.
The full quote from Luke in the movie is, this is not going to go the way that you think any of it.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so this is...
Thank you for the shout out.
Yeah, this is Shane Plays Geek Talk. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. This is live. Usually I go live from Little Rock, but instead I wanted to go off on I really think the dividing line on the people that love and dislike this movie is, this is not going to go the way you think. But we'll explore more on it later. We're joined by comedian Michael Brown.
At Michael Brown on Twitter.
At Michael Brown on Twitter. Also the host of Brain Trust, which is going to a podcast.
It is a podcast now. And as soon as I figure out the Goldilocks zone of my pixels for my logo, then it'll be available on iTunes.
Nice.
But right now you can go to braintrustshow.podbean.com and start listening to some classic episodes.
All right, so you're using Podbean. I use, and they're not a sponsor of the show.
Yeah.
I use Libsyn. I've used Libsyn
is that right?
Since the show started, and I like Libsyn a lot. Now, I've not used Podbean, but Libsyn is easy to use and will let you push out to all the major.
Right on. It will still be a video. We are still going to do videos on special shows.
Okay.
But we've just ratcheted it down to a podcast from here on out, which is frankly kind of how we should have started.
You never know. You pivot, you adjust, you figure out what fits what your audience wants.
It's still going on.
Show. We're also joined by certified card-carrying geek and friend of the show, Richard McBain.
Yeah.
Now, you guys are both friends of the show, but y'all have never been on together.
No.
Now, but y'all did both sit on a panel with Nichelle Nichols, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I moderated that panel.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like it was fun.
It was. It was great. It was my first foray into becoming the chubby Chris Hardwick of Little Rock.
Well, there you go. That's what you've always dreamed of.
It really is.
So, anyway, let me do some show notes, housekeeping notes, and then we'll jump on in, folks. Today is a spoiler ban is lifted.
That's right.
For a major pop culture event like Star Wars. I think 2 weeks is more than fair.
No doubt.
So, but today is spoilers. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want spoilers on Star Wars: The Last Jedi, it's your fault if you listen and get upset, because we're going deep. Okay. Yep. Or as deep as, we're not going to go, there might be that one part. No, we're going to assume anybody's listening to the show has either seen it or doesn't care if they get spoiled.
Either way.
So anyway, this is live talk radio. The show also goes out as a podcast because I love both formats. But you can call in at 501-823-0965, 501-823-0965 with your opinion on Star Wars: The Last Jedi, whether you agree with us or not. And all three of us sitting here might not agree. And then Zach, of course, is running things in the engineer's booth. Zach, you're welcome to jump in and share your opinion on it. So you can also tweet me at Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays. So call in at 501-823-0965 or tweet me at Shane Plays, and I will try to work your questions or comments onto the show. When this show goes out as a podcast version and also on Krypton Radio, there will be show notes up at shaneplays.com. That's ShanePlays.com. Last week's show is archived on the blog. It's also out on the podcast version. That was a geeky Christmas party 2017 where I talked about a bunch of stuff. Just had a lot of fun, including Michael Brown's specialties is an Orson Welles impression.
Yes,
and
yes, my friend.
Yes, my friend. And you did Orson Welles singing The Grinch, which was great.
That was a spur of the moment thing I put together a couple of years ago, and a
lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
So go check. We talked about, or there was a solo show last week. I talked about Disney eating Fox. Talked about, I said goodbye to Peter Capaldi as Doctor Who, who I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss the attack eyebrows very much.
Oh, so good.
But we did get to see Jodie Whittaker at the end of the Christmas
For
special.
a minute,
Yeah, for a minute. She said, brilliant, and then fell out of the TARDIS. So they're kind of doing a Matt Smith thing, because when David Tennant regenerated into Matt Smith, the TARDIS caught on fire because of his regeneration, and he fell out. Kind of.
He didn't fall all the way out.
She fell all
the way out, and then it dematerialized. So
it'll come. They're tough. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. It should be a lot of fun. Folks, this show does go out as a podcast on the blog, shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and more, including YouTube. More and more people are starting to listen to the show on YouTube. And then last but never least, we are carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is SciFi for your Wi-Fi, KryptonRadio.com. Again, we will be talking about The Last Jedi today, getting everybody's opinion on it. The most recent installment in the Star Wars trilogy movies. Okay, we had Rogue One this time last year. Now we've got The Last Jedi. And then in 2 more years, I guess we'll get whatever the ninth one is, which will be back to J.J. Abrams directing it. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I want to... before we get into The Last Jedi, I want to give a couple of shout outs here. First of all, a fellow geek and a gamer, somebody who's actually set in on my D&D game before, he had a scary bad day yesterday and he's in the hospital. I think he's okay now, talking with him on Facebook, but he's still in the hospital. It was kind of a scary, unexpected day. I won't go too much in the details because that's frankly his business. But just ask people to, if you know Mickey, maybe reach out to him and check on him. And if you don't know him, maybe send up a prayer or whatever, but just want to give a shout out to Mickey.
He's so fine, he blows my mind.
He's so fine, he blows my mind. That was a completely wrong tune.
It really was.
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you don't understand. Yeah, okay, you do it. Save me from what I just did. You've got to sing it now because you brought it up.
You're fine. I'm good.
Fine. Just sing it like Orson Welles.
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine.
You're so fine.
You're so fine, you blow my mind.
Yeah. Now give me some booze. That's what Orson would say, right? In between takes, give me some more booze.
I'd like that Japanese whiskey
right now. That's what you promised me.
Yeah.
Okay. I love Orson Welles. He's a genuine, unique talent that has been on this earth. Nobody else can match Orson Welles, both for his presentation of things, but also he was a genius.
He was a genius.
He was a total genius.
Yeah.
So, all right. But anyway, Mickey, glad you're okay out there. Want to remind people for Troll Lord Games, if you are a member of the military and you are currently deployed in an active theater of operation, Troll Lord Games will ship any game we publish to you for free. That's from Troll Lord Games. Just drop us an email at orders@trolllord.com. We'll mail them or email them, however you prefer. All 5 branches of the military included. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. You got it. If you're an active, or if you're a member of the military who is deployed in an active theater of operations, and if you're in the military, you'll know if you're in an active theater of operations or not, then you can get free stuff from Troll Lord Games, either electronic or hard copy. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Troll Lord Collector's Edition, the comic book store sponsor, Michael Tierney, is doing their annual After Christmas sale. And I believe that trade paperbacks and back issues are 25% off. 50-cent comics are 25 cents. And on January 6th, you can get any one item in either of his stores for half off. Last year, I got the HeroClix Batmobile, the classic HeroClix Batmobile with
That's
that.
cool.
So, yeah, and then, of course, make sure to check out Game Goblins. Shane Place sponsor Game Goblins. They got all kinds of cool New Year's and after Christmas stuff going on as well. Okay, guys, let's do it. Last Jedi. Let's jump on in. It's out. People have seen it. There appears to be a certain percentage of minority that we can't figure out that don't like it. If according to Rotten Tomatoes, half the people don't like it. But in my personal circle of people that I know, either personally or on social media, I would say 1 to 2 out of 10 don't like it, like actively don't like it.
Really?
Yeah. And in fact, is your mic on? Yeah, your mic's on.
Okay.
Are you sure? I can't hear his mic.
I think so.
Oh, there he is.
Okay.
There he is. Okay, yeah.
I'm here.
There's Richard McBain.
I was
Yeah.
starting to wonder.
Yeah.
Zach was like, who's this Richard guy?
Yeah, who's this Richard guy? I just brought you on to punk you.
Well,
Yeah.
but hey, you did a good job.
No, I wouldn't do that. But in fact, I'm going to put an article on, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I want to talk about the actual movie. But I sent both of you that article where that guy did the research on the
Yes.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And it looks very obvious that was review bombing.
Oh, sure.
People were actively going out of their way to try to lower, because if you go to Rotten Tomatoes and you look at Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the critic consensus is like 92% or something like that.
Yeah.
The user score, just the random person coming along and scoring it, is like in the 50%, somewhere in there. 51%, I think, as Zach is saying, which that's a pretty big disparity, especially for a Star Wars movie. And there's an article that was on birthmoviesdeath.com. And this guy did good research and went in and looked at the accounts who were voting in that. And it's very suspicious.
Well, sure.
Yeah, a lot of accounts created just to vote in that and then canceled. I've heard people even suggest that there were bots involved in, in all of this stuff. So what I'm saying is don't take the Rotten Tomatoes user score as whether this is a good movie or not, because
I'm going to go as far as saying it's fake news.
It's getting there. It's getting there, but it's not fake news on Rotten Tomatoes' part. It's fake news on an aggregate group of people trying to skew. But there'll be that link will be on the show notes at shaneplays.com. So don't the general movie going audience and the Star Wars fandom likes this movie a lot more than the internet would make you think. Because, the internet blows up. And, so just now, if people don't like Star Wars: The Last Jedi, that's totally their prerogative. And there's people I've heard explain, I don't like it, and here's the reasons why, and and that's all good. Mm-hmm. But I do want to kind of speak against this sort of false, skewed picture of how many people don't like it, because I don't think that's an accurate picture.
Do you not?
I do not, no.
And for all the reasons that you said.
Right.
Okay.
Well, not only based on that article where the guy researched the Rotten Tomatoes scores, but also my own personal experience talking to other people. Okay. Right. A pretty broad range of my circle, right, plus my online circle, and it's the dislike is nowhere near as high as you would think if you were just looking at certain headlines online.
I got it.
Yeah. I just realized I've got to do this real quick, because when I don't banter with Zach.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't. No, I took us.
I'll interject.
No, I rolled past this and took us into the Last Jedi discussion. When I don't banter with Zach, then Sal, who's the head of my news team, his grandmother and her dog Muffin get mad at me, and I get nasty.
No one wants that.
Postcards, I get nasty. Emails. She sent me a singing telegram one time it's bad. It's just not good. Yeah. Woof. Exactly. Yeah. So, Zach, how the heck are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right.
So, like last week, it was a pre-recorded show, and the week before that was a pre-recorded show.
Yeah.
So, I officially apologize to Sal's grandmother and her dog Muffin. Okay, they love you. I don't know what they just love you. So, how was your Christmas, Zach?
It's pretty good. I enjoyed it with the family and watched a lot of basketball.
Watched a lot of basketball. Mm-hmm. What did you get a gift that you felt was your favorite?
Money.
All right, I'm down with that. Mm-hmm. I can take that. So. And my wife and I, the lovely Sheila, finally finished the 4-part Crisis on Earth X.
Okay.
Thought it was great.
Yeah.
Really impressed.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I loved it.
They're going to have a hard time topping that next year.
I loved it. It was great.
Right.
Yeah. And I know that Zach definitely keeps up with that stuff, because he tweets that stuff like crazy. Even though I follow your timeline, Zach's supervillain code name is the Spoiler, because he will put stuff all over Twitter the moment it happens. He's a live tweeter. But I follow him, so it's on me.
Sure.
But I didn't know and was surprised by Stein dying. I didn't see that coming.
That was a big deal.
I knew they were going to separate Firestorm and get that, but I like Stein. I like that character a lot. I've liked him since they first introduced him. In fact, I like his character more than I've liked any of the stuff they've done with Firestorm in the shows. And so, him getting killed was actually kind of like, that's kind of a bummer. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Missing stuff. But, I mean.
He's been around since the first season of Flash.
Right. Well, see, what I thought they were going to do Because if you remember when Professor Wells revealed himself to be Eobard Thawne, and then Barry lost his mentor. For a couple of episodes after that, Stein was kind of the older guy giving. I thought they were going to work him into that role.
Yeah, he replaced him for a minute.
And then he ended up on Legends of Tomorrow.
Right.
But we also have to remember that Legends of Tomorrow, like Doctor Who, is very timey-wimey. So we will probably see Stein in some shape or form again. But man, they just straight up killed him. That was like the Optimus Prime death in Transformers the movie 30 years ago. I mean, dude's dead. They left guy's dead. They even did the head falling over thing. Dude's dead. So we'll miss you, Professor Stein. Okay, so we've bantered Zach. So hopefully I won't. Usually when I banter, I get something to say that I sucked less. So I guess that's what I'll get from Sal's grandmother and her dog Muffin.
Well, we're always happy that Zach's back there on the ones and twos.
Yeah, helping me suck less. Thank you, Zach. Okay, so back to it. I feel that the backlash, quote unquote backlash against Star Wars The Last Jedi is one way overblown, as the internet can do, because if it bleeds, it leads, right? So everyone will push this stuff out there, because if you say everyone loves Star Wars, is that going to get as many clicks as massive rupture in the Star Wars fan base, right? So which is going to get more clicks if you're putting a thing out there? But that's really all I want to talk about that. What I want to do, we're going to have to get to a break here in a second. Richard, what I'd like to do, give us your just overview of did you like it, not like it? We'll go into more specifics after the break, but just give us a quick couple of minutes. Did you like it, not like it, whatever. We'll cut to a break and we'll get back. We'll get Mike and then mine's on the movie.
Okay.
So,
I think overall, I like the film. I didn't love it. I very much am a fan of Rian Johnson, the filmmaker. I've followed his career since the very beginning. Enjoyed all the stuff that he's put out up to this point. There were a lot of things in the film I think worked. There were a few story decisions that I felt that didn't work. It's not a perfect film. It's not even a perfect Star Wars film. But is it a good film? Yes. Is it a great film? Not in my opinion, no. I still like Rogue One better from the last three than this film.
okay.
But there, like I said, overall, it was an enjoyable film, enjoyable theater experience.
Good.
But yeah, not a great film in my opinion.
Okay. Well, now from a Star Wars perspective, is it like if you had to rank it, and it may be too early to rank, but if you had to rank it.
We're going to do that this early in the show? We're going to start ranking Star Wars films?
We can hold off if you want. I'm trying to create controversy out the gate.
Well, I can play devil's advocate if you want me to. I can be that guy.
Okay, I'll just leave it at this, and we can get to ranking later.
Okay.
Would you rather watch The Last Jedi or Attack of the Clones?
Last Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and we can talk about it a little bit later, but there's a couple of story decisions and things in the film that I was disappointed in that were made from whatever, writer's standpoint.
Gotcha.
But no, it was a good film. It wasn't a great film. I will say real quickly on the Rotten Tomatoes thing, I think the inverse has also been true if you've seen where there's been very high audience scores and very low critic scores.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've read the article that you sent to me, and I do see a lot of merit there. The people that I've talked to directly, there's probably more. My ratio is probably not 80-20.
Okay.
It's probably closer to 60-40, 70-30.
Okay.
People who like it and people who just downright loathe it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
which is
what I'm
interesting.
talking about. Is people that just actively hate it.
Well, and it's interesting. This film seemed to be, there's not a lot of middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there is out there, but the people that I've conversed with about it, it's either, it's really an amazing piece of artwork, film, whatever, and then other people who are just like, oh, burn it, put it in the dumpster and light it on fire kind of mentality, right? So I don't know.
I'll say this, and then we'll cut to a break and get back. I want to get Mike's take on it, and then we'll throw my take out there, and then we'll get a little bit more into details. I will say, when I came out of the movie, the first time I watched it Thursday night,
right.
With three other pretty major Star Wars fans. And when I came out of the movie, it did not even occur to me to think that there would be people who would backlash against it for certain reasons. It just didn't even cross my mind.
Really?
Yeah. And in fact, when we were in line for like an hour waiting to get in because we went to a showing that didn't have reserved seats. So we were like pretty much first in line. There was like one couple in front of us. And as people were coming out of the theater, we were like, no spoilers. Like we were shouting out like no spoilers, like joking around, but really like no spoilers. But we were also saying, did you like it? And everybody was thumbs upping walking by. We didn't have one person thumbs even or thumbs down. Everyone was like, yeah, you'll love it. And then, and then the next day I started seeing some kind of, I'm like, what is this? But I was on kind of a toxic Star Wars page to begin with. So I thought it was just kind of,
maybe it was them.
It was them. And then, but then I started seeing, so I will say that it surprised me. Not that some people were like, oh, it was okay, but some people were like loathing it on the levels of like Phantom Menace. So, and then I'll drop it there. We'll take a break. We'll get back with Michael Brown, get his take on this. Folks, if you want to call in with your opinion, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. I'd love to hear what you think about the movie. 501-823-0965. We are talking Star Wars, The Last Jedi on Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Troll Lord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trolllord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trolllord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
Hey, we're back on Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. The number, if you'd like to call in, we're talking Star Wars, The Last Jedi. Spoiler ban is lifted. It's been 2 weeks. We were talking Star Wars, The Last Jedi with comedian Michael Brown and card-carrying certified geek, and they are both friends of the show, Richard McBain. So call in if you want. 501-823-0965.
We're friends with each other, too.
Absolutely.
We're friends. We're buddies.
We are united through Trek.
We're
we kind of are.
We are.
United by the world of geek and the world of Star Wars. So anyway, before the break, Richard kind of gave his high level opinion of the movie. He basically said, good movie, not perfect, but not terrible. He liked it enough. He had a few issues with some of the storytelling. And then we said, well, let's go to break and we'll come back and we'll get Michael Brown's take on it. So Michael Brown, what is your take on The Last Jedi?
Very interesting. I think that, Ryan Johnson, as he was writing the script, combed through dozens of fan theories from the episode 7, and I think he shaped his screenplay to be the exact opposite of what everybody thought might happen. Therefore, a lot of old school Star Wars people. Yeah. And when I'm talking old school Star Wars people, I'm talking about those of us who are alive in '77 who watched the film since we were in first or second grade.
Which would be all three of us.
Yeah.
Right.
And grew up, you know, with the whole thing. As we said at the top of the show, my tweet about Luke's quote of "This is not going to go the way you think." I kind of called that early.
You did, yeah, you did.
Because
I give you props.
Yeah, because I think the whole thing was engineered to turn everything on its ear and to give people exactly not what they were expecting. That being said, I think the film was a success in that way.
Sure.
I also think the film was a monumental failure for not necessarily living up or giving props to some kind of established canon. So if you were looking for a guy who was middle of the road on this, it's kind of me. Yeah. I kind of see how people love it, and I kind of see how people hate it.
Yeah.
How do I feel personally? I liked it. I don't have
you seem conflicted.
I am conflicted because there were scenes that I loved.
Sure.
And there were whole...
Give us an example of a scene that you loved.
A scene that I loved was Rear Admiral What's-Her-Face.
Holdo.
Yeah.
Holdo?
Holdo? I thought it was Holdo. Let me look it up.
I thought it was an L, like Holdo. Almost like Hordor.
Like holdover.
Right? Let me look.
Rear Admiral Holdover.
Hodo. No, it's Hodo.
It is Hodo.
H-O? Okay.
Oh, H-O-D-O.
Laura Dern herself.
Yeah, Laura Dern herself.
Yeah.
Rear Admiral Laura Dern. Going to warp through the fleet at the end was spectacular.
That was not just a cool Star Wars moment. That was a spectacular filmmaking moment.
I agree.
Yeah.
And some theaters actually were having to give warnings to people because like your hearing aids didn't go out, the sound didn't cut out. This was on purpose. Kind of a thing. I thought it was very dramatic. I thought it was a wow moment. I even said wow out loud in the theater.
No, I'm gonna correct. It is Holdo.
Okay.
Correction on Shane Plays.
Very well. Holdo.
Okay. Yeah, that scene.
Stop all the cards and letters. So it's Holdo.
Yeah. Just email Zach at Salem. So here's the thing.
There were parts of the film I hated, and there were parts. Well, I say hated. There were parts of the film that I thought were extraneous and didn't need to be done, and then there were parts. But it was overshadowed by parts of the film that I really, really loved. Yeah. So overall, I thought it was good, but I kind of thought the whole Finn Rose stuff was kind of a useless subplot.
I've heard that from a lot. Even people who really like the movie, I've heard
That's
that.
Me. I'm really trying to like the movie,
and I'm just so you know, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do the radio tease.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna wait till after the second break to give my take on the movie. But we can talk about some of the details. Yeah. Since you brought it up, let's talk about Finn and Rose.
Let's talk about that.
So I've heard that from a lot of sources that the Finn and Rose subplot was extraneous, felt tacked on. I didn't feel that way when I first saw it. I heard that. So I've seen the movie 3 times now.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah,
Dude.
I went. I see any Star Wars trilogy movie, including the prequels, at least 4 times in the theater.
Fair enough.
Whether I love it or not.
Okay,
because I'm just a Star Wars nerd.
I get it.
So I've actually seen The Phantom Menace 5 times in the theater because I went back when they re-released it in 3D. So I've seen Clones 4 times. I saw Sith 4 times. I saw Force Awakens 4 times. I think I only saw Rogue One twice, but that was due to just timing. It was hard for me to go.
My wife saw Rogue One more than I did in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing a lot with Last Jedi, comparing, I liked Rogue One better or this or that or the other. I don't really go down that road because Rogue One is a completely different kind of movie than Last Jedi, because Last Jedi has to fit into a trilogy, where Rogue One, they could just tell this one-off open close story and do whatever they want with the characters.
Nestles snugly in the movie, though.
We love Rogue One. You and I, we did the Rogue One show.
We did.
Yeah, we love it. I love Rogue One, but I don't.
To this
it's
day.
hard to compare them because
it is.
It's a different thing. But here's what I'll say about Finn. And Richard and I actually had this discussion a little bit about a week ago. And so I already know he has a different take on this than I do. So if he wants to tack on after I say, I'll definitely give him the room to do so. First of all, Finn, for me, is my favorite new trilogy character. I've loved Finn. I love him because he's just a regular dude who's thrown in the middle of this. In the first movie, he gets his butt kicked in every fight he gets in.
Yeah.
You know,
well, he's a stormtrooper.
He's a stormtrooper, but he still gets jacked up by other stormtroopers.
Yeah.
I mean, he just, all he wants to do.
I would love there was a joke where every time he grabbed a blaster and tried to fire at something, he would just miss
because he's a stormtrooper.
Because he's a stormtrooper.
Yeah. Well, now one thing I'll give the new trilogy props. The stormtroopers are nasty in the new trilogy.
Yeah, they are.
They're not a joke in the new trilogy. No. They will kill you. And I actually kind of laughed at when Rose tries to shoot Phasma and it bounces off her armor.
Yeah.
I'm like, finally, stormtrooper armor that works. But of course, Phasma's is reflective and polished and all that. So here's the thing with Finn. Finn spends the entire Force Awakens movie wanting to run. And he wants to take Rey with him.
Right.
The only reason he even cares about going to Starkiller Base and blowing up Starkiller Base is so he can get Rey. That's all he cares about.
Right.
He doesn't stand and fight Kylo Ren until Rey's unconscious, and he has no choice but to protect Rey.
Right.
And then he gets his butt kicked.
That's a good point.
Okay. Second movie, Last Jedi, all he cares about once he sees the situation the fleet is in is we can't let Rey come back to the fleet. Like, I don't care about the fleet. Fleet's doomed.
Yeah.
We got to save Rey. That's all he cares about.
Yeah.
That's all he cares about. And then, the whole reason he's going through the stuff with Rose and this, and we're going to go get the code breaker, and because he doesn't want Rey to come back to a doomed fleet. That's all he cares about. But then everyone's like, well, he didn't get any character development. He did. I firmly believe he did. When he gets confronted by Phasma and he takes her out and she goes, "You're just scum." And he goes, "Rebel scum." At that moment, he flips and now he's part of a bigger world and he's part of the rebellion. He's fighting for a larger cause, not just to save Rey.
Right.
I firmly believe that was
the moment of growth.
I feel like it. Now, other people may not, but from that point on.
That's a good argument.
From that point on, he no longer cares about, we just got to save Rey and run. He's like, I'm in it to the end with rebellion, up to the point where he's willing to sacrifice himself to take out that battering ram cannon.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is the worst name for a thing. It's a battering ram cannon. No, just call it a batter cannon or something. That's a terrible name. But anyway.
I have thoughts on that cannon, too.
Yeah, it did not feel Star Wars-y. Yeah. But
really? Because I thought they tried to make it as Star Wars-y as possible. Well, because there was no giant Death Star analog in this.
Oh, so they had to put the gun in?
So they had to put the little mini Death Star gun in.
Yeah, they said it's based on Death Star tech. I'm talking about the name.
I know.
Battering ram cannon.
Oh, yeah.
Because Lucas, for his faults and strength, could come up with cool names for stuff that sounded very Star Wars.
Except characters,
Dooku. But okay, anyway. So that is the moment where Finn in my opinion, became Finn.
Yeah.
As far as the rebel.
I dig that. Yeah, that's a good take on that. And a throwaway line there, that rebel scum line.
Right.
The nice that he said rebel and not resistance scum.
Right, resistant. Yeah, well, now they've gone to being just straight up rebels.
Yeah.
But I feel
because they don't have a government.
Right. Yeah, they got
anymore.
Nothing.
I think it's more a numbers thing. Like once you get under a certain number, you change from a resistance to just rebels.
That's a very good point.
Right.
So the other thing with Finn, the casino scene, I don't think they did it as strongly as they could have, but the casino scene was for him to see, because he's like, oh, this casino is amazing. But then he saw the dark underbelly of the casino.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of his growth about, because when he's like, we punched the city in the face, and he felt good about it at the end. Okay, so that's just because time is short. Richard, did you want to add? Because I know.
Well, so let me do a counterpoint on the Finn's storyline and character in the third movie, or the
Bring
second,
me around
in the
on
second
it,
movie was one of my three major plot story decision issues with this film.
Yeah.
My counter to your discussion, your points on Finn is in Force Awakens, right? He's a character, when we meet him, all he wants to do is go. He wants to get out.
Yeah.
He's seen the terrible things that the First Order is capable of, and he wants to have nothing to do with it.
Right.
He wants to get as far away as he can.
Correct.
He meets Rey. He decides, for whatever reason, and yet to be seen, I think to some degree, that he wants Rey to run with him, right?
Yeah.
And he spends all that movie, right, essentially trying to get to that means to that end. Then at the end of that film, he fights one-on-one against Kylo Ren, sees firsthand, how terrible, ultimately, I mean, I think he knew that, but now he really sees how terrible the First Order is. And that movie ends, and then we have this movie, and the first interaction we have with Finn is, now this is before he realizes that all he knows is Rey is off chasing her Jedi dreams, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you meet Finn in this new movie, he has no knowledge of her actions or plan of actions or anything. So as far as he knows, she's cool off doing her thing in nowhere near harm's way. And here he is running again. And to me, so it's like he's back to square one again.
I kind of felt that too.
And that was, to me, that was very disappointing in a character development, because he saw all this stuff and was in the direct line of action with all of these things that happen in Force Awakens, and here's the next movie, and here he is again. I'm just trying to get the heck out of here, and it didn't sit with me, and I don't understand why his character had not grown to a point.
You think he would be a little bit more grateful of being put into that what is it, the bathtub tank suit?
Yeah, it was that. Yeah. I could spend some more time on Finn, but I will say,
I will agree at the end that he grew. Now, sure, when he had that confrontation with Phasma, sure, at that point his character finally developed or grew to a point.
Right.
I feel like where he's okay now, he's here. Right. But initially at the beginning, I just wonder if that was done, if that story decision was done to simply have a way to get Rose the character and Finn the character to meet. How do we, as storytellers in the writer's room, how do we get these two characters to meet? Well, let's just have Finn like he's jumping ship again.
Right.
And she's the one that guards these escape pods, essentially, to make sure that people don't become deserters.
Well, the only thing I'll add to that, only because I've seen it 3 times now, Finn doesn't run until after Kylo Ren basically blows up all the pilots, and he finds out how low the fuel is. He's like, I'm effing
no, I know,
out
but
here.
he's still,
I'm
once again, he's
here.
like, he's still like, it had nothing to do with Rey.
Right.
He's like, I'm,
He's going to get an escape pod and leave.
Yeah.
Is what he was gonna do.
Well, good luck, guys.
But I will say, everything he did to save the fleet initially was just because he didn't want Rey to come. He mentions a couple of times, I don't want Rey to come back to a doomed fleet. Okay.
Fair enough.
I got to move on. Just, we could.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows you, the storytelling, I think, is more complex than some people are giving it credit for.
No, absolutely.
Because we're talking on this level about just one character.
Yeah.
So again, I'll give my take after we come back from the second break. You could probably guess, if anybody's listening, where I'm going to skew on this movie. But here's something, taking it back to Luke's quote, like that. This isn't going to go the way that you think.
Yeah.
None of it's going to go the way you think.
Yeah.
I created a snarky meme yesterday, and I sent it to both of you guys.
I saw it.
And it's Obi-Wan.
I even liked it when you posted it.
Yeah, you're like, then I saw the thumbs up. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi says, I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of pet fan theories suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. I fear something terribly new and fresh has happened. So, and that's kind of making the rounds against some likes. That's kind of my take on the backlash. I think the backlash is more on not the quality of the movie making, but people had expectations of what they were going to see happen in the movie.
Well, they had expectations of answers that they wished that they had.
Well, they were
questions that they had answers for.
They were shipping people. They were frothing at the mouth over who Snoke was. All this stuff. And then Rian Johnson's like, well, I'm just going to kill Snoke because he's really not that important. It's about Kylo Ren growing, And I think the stuff they did with Kylo Ren in this movie was really good. I think he's a much more complex villain than we've had.
Right.
It's
been Kylo and Ren's story from the beginning.
Right.
I mean, you and I discussed that.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to talk about Snoke too at some point.
Well, we got a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
let's go into Snoke. I think Snoke was...
He seems to be a real sticking point for a lot of people who have issues. And Michael, you're smiling at me. So
when well, this is spoiler laden.
It is.
When
drop the spoilers.
When Kylo essentially dissected Snoke,
right?
That was one of the moments in the film that I was in one of those big recliners, watching the film in the theater, and I sat up.
Yeah,
and I was like, dang.
That's like I
could not believe they killed that guy so easily.
That was a risk, but it was a storytelling risk.
Yeah.
But you had to get him out of the way for Kylo to ascend,
and without answering any questions about who he was, where he's from, or any of that.
Okay. Well, there's the only thing I'll say about how quickly they killed Snoke. We knew jack poopy about the Emperor. Nothing. We saw him for 2 seconds in Empire Strikes Back, and then he shows up in Return of the Jedi, and all you know is he's the Emperor. That's all you know.
Okay.
That's all you know.
And then we had 3 prequels that featured him heavily.
You had to wait 10 years for that.
Okay, fine.
Right. So,
or are you telling me I'm going to have to wait 10 years for an answer for who Snoke is?
What I'm saying is when Darth Vader plunged him down the abyss, was there a lot of people going, we didn't know anything about the Emperor. Who was he? You didn't flesh out that character. No.
Okay.
What happened was
Force Awakens. It was 1983. There was no internet back then. That was the difference.
Well, Force Awakens came out, and everybody went nuts with fan theories, and they didn't get them fulfilled. So they're like, nah. But I'm just saying, if you're listening to this and you're upset about Snoke getting killed, tell me how much you knew about the Emperor based just on Return of the Jedi. Nothing. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
That's a valid point. And my issue with Snoke, real quickly, is I agree with you, Michael, that there were answers about him as a character that weren't answered.
There were questions that weren't answered.
Questions that weren't answered.
There are tons.
But I also agree with Shane that he was made out to be in The Force Awakens like a character that was had a very, very important role to play in the development of those characters.
Yeah, they did a fake out.
They did a fake out.
Yeah.
But he is literally, I thought about this for a while. I was trying to think of a bigger MacGuffin in a film that I've seen than Snoke. And that's literally what he became, was a MacGuffin. He was there to literally, and if you don't know what a MacGuffin is, look it up online.
Yeah, look it up.
But and that was my second biggest issue with the story, is that Snoke was essentially a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind that he got taken out the way he did by Kylo.
Sure.
There's a lot of things that would happen in that scenario, but he's supposed to be all powerful and all that, but
exactly. I don't mind how he got taken out. I don't mind
how he got taken out.
What I mind is that he got taken out. Frankly.
Gotcha. So your issue is that he was taken out. Period. That was your because you expected to see him in the third film and to have a central role.
Something,
right?
I expected some kind of explanation besides just some half-baked recollections of different
Maybe
stories.
We'll find out who he was.
3 or 4.
We don't know yet.
There's still another movie in the trilogy.
The Kylo Ren origin is like the Joker's origin, man. It just depends on. Depends on your point of view.
So, point of view is a very big thing in Star Wars mythos. So, here's something I'll say about Snoke. I saw a cool fan theory, which if they did this, I would love this. I don't think they will, because Richard, as you said, the movie is about Rilo.
Right.
That's the shipping thing.
You're mixing Rey and Kylo.
Yeah, Rey. Yeah. It's really about Rey and Kylo.
Right.
And I love the complexity in Kylo. I think that they did great character development with him.
Absolutely.
In this show, or in this movie. But here was a theory I heard on Snoke, and I would love if they did this. That was a clone, and he will return in a stunning development in the third movie. I would love that. I don't think it'll happen, but I would love that. I would love that, but I don't think it'll happen, but I would love it just for the sheer fake out of it and the sheer dramatic moment of it.
Yeah.
I got to get us to a break.
I thought clones were outlawed.
Yeah. Well, he's Snoke, man. He's the First Order. He is the government now. Well, or he was. And also the thing that you have to say about Snoke is he's only half the man the Emperor was. All right. I'll tell you what I was more disappointed by than Snoke was I want to know more, and I hope that we either get this in the books or in the next movie. Who are the Knights of Ren?
That's been brought up. That's
who
a
are they?
huge thing.
Because there were some of Luke's apprentices went with Kylo.
Right.
Were those the Praetorian Guard? Were those the people in the armor? Who were they?
Sure.
Are they still hanging out? Where are the Knights of Ren? I want to know. I was actually more disappointed by that because I thought it was so great when they killed
That'll be
Snoke.
covered in other media, I'm sure, comics or whatever.
So, and I'm going to read this. I think you actually posted this first, Mike, and I shared it around. I'm going to read this. I'll take us to a break.
Okay.
This is a Facebook post from 37 years ago.
Yeah.
Just saw the new Star Wars, and it's total garbage. They ruined Luke, and they ruined Star Wars. First, Luke abandons his friends because a ghost told him to, and then he dismisses the ghost warnings to go save them. Then they retcon his parentage, and he loses? What happened to writing endings? The whole Cloud City subplot is just pointless, and an SJW excuse to introduce a black character who was in command. Also, Leia is a captain now? WTF, feminist? And don't even get me started on Boba Fett. Total letdown after all that buildup. Overall, the whole thing was riddled with poor attempts at humor. Even Darth Vader has one-liners, totally killing the mood, and huge plot holes. They don't even tell us the Emperor's backstory. Just save your $2.50 and don't even bother. We'll be back here in a moment on Shane Plays Geek Talk, and I'll give my take on the movie, and we'll try to get a little bit more discussion in on the movie.
And now it's time to give a little love to one of our sponsors. Some Goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers, mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Tell them Shane Plays sent you.
Hey, we're back on Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into things we love. Phone number is 501-823-0965, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. We're talking with comedian Michael Brown and Richard McBain, and we're just having a open panel discussion on Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I'm about to give my take on the movie, but Zach said he had something he wants to say. Lay it on us, Zach.
The Last Jedi was a pretty good movie, I felt, after watching it the first time. But, after watching The Force Awakens and Rogue One, I immediately wanted to see the next Star Wars film. After watching this one, I'm like, I can wait 2 years to watch the next. That's how I feel about this.
Yeah.
It's very good.
That's big.
But I can wait 2 years. I'm like, just to sort things out. I really can.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, and that's fair enough. I'm a big Star Wars nerd, so I'm gonna anticipate any Star Wars movie. But anyway, thanks for that. That's good. That's a point I haven't heard brought up yet. And that could, Disney needs to hear stuff like that. You need to leave people salivating. But okay, here's my take. All right. I loved it. I thought it moved the story forward. I thought it made this trilogy its own, because a lot of people complained that Force Awakens was just a retelling of A New Hope.
Yeah, I have.
So
I have issues with that.
Yeah. So The Last Jedi, I mean, it made this trilogy its own, for better or for worse.
Absolutely.
It confounded and subverted expectations while also allowing some things to skew the way you expected. It had great character development, especially Kylo. I feel it was an amazing film, and it was an amazing entry in the Star Wars lore, and I feel like it exceeded Force Awakens. So that's my feeling on it. Only time will tell, but it may be my favorite Star Wars movie. Only time will tell. You have to catch it 5 years down the road unexpectedly to really, yeah. So, but it may be my favorite. I loved pretty much everything about it. I thought it was amazing. So that's kind of where now let me throw out a couple of trivia points, and then we'll have a little bit more discussion. I have a bad feeling about this. That line was said in the movie.
Yes, it was
at the beginning when Poe is lining up in front of the Star Destroyer, and he says, and BB-8 says something, and Poe says, "Oh, it's going to be fine" or whatever. BB-8 says, "I have a bad feeling about this," and in fact, they have an entire language for BB-8, and they really said, "I have a bad feeling about this" in BB-8's language. So I just want to throw that out there. I thought that Rey saved the Jedi books. I didn't catch that until the second viewing.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you not?
I did not catch that.
Oh, yeah. No, that's why Puppet Yoda. Can we just say Puppet Yoda?
Yoda. Dude, I squeed like a 5-year-old girl when Yoda came on. Dude, I squeed.
That was big.
When Puppet Yoda came back and burned down the tree and said that she's got everything she needs. Yeah,
right.
It's because she took the books.
Right. So I thought that Poe had great character development, going from him a cocky hero to more of a wise leader. I thought that was good.
He had to be humbled.
He definitely had to be humbled. Now, on the flip side of that, although I liked Admiral Holdo's character, the way that character handled herself led to the atmosphere that allowed a mutiny, because she wasn't telling anybody what was going on. So I'm like, that is a little bit on you for playing it that close to the vest. I do feel
technically he was demoted and did not have the clearance.
Technically she was in the right.
Yeah.
But wise leadership, she did wrong. Because she helped lead that atmosphere, in my opinion.
I completely agree.
But, at the end, though, she was a good character, represented patience and sacrifice for the greater good over being quote unquote liked. So I liked her character.
Loved her character.
Yeah, and that scene where she hyperspaces into the fleet is one of the.
It's one of my favorites.
Beautiful.
It's one of my favorite scenes. Wrong person, hyperspace though.
Yeah. What's that?
Oh, I know where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Oh, the Akbar?
No.
A lot of people were saying it should have been Akbar.
No. He's saying it should have been Leia's demise.
Absolutely.
That's how Leia should have.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
but they were supposed to use her in the third movie. She died after the movie was.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
but
you can monkey with it.
You can.
We got CGI.
Yeah, you can. Let me throw out some other. See if there's any other. Oh, I love let's talk about Luke real quick.
Okay.
I love the foreshadowing from Luke at the beginning of the movie when he's talking to her. He's like, "What do you expect me to do? Walk out and face down the entire First Order?" Which is exactly what.
With my laser sword?
Yeah.
The fact that he said laser sword.
Nice callback to the other movies when he said laser sword. And nice use of religion when they were talking about Jedi, because that was a callback to some of the older movies. So real quick on Luke. How do you say real quick on Luke? A lot of people are upset that he died the way he did.
I don't think that's the problem.
A lot of people are upset that he was hiding on the island. It's not his story anymore. His story, from a storytelling perspective, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it. That's all I can say. I thought it was interesting that, I thought it was interesting storytelling. And at the end of the day, he had his big moment and he saved the rebellion. So that's kind of how I feel about
For a
Luke.
minute.
Yeah. And the way he faked out Kylo was beautiful.
Yeah.
Loved it. I loved all the fake outs in the movie. That's one of the things that I like about it. It was risky storytelling.
It was. And I applaud Rian Johnson for that. I mean, that from a film cinematic standpoint, not a Star Wars fanboy standpoint.
Right.
I applaud Rian Johnson for having the gall to take those chances.
Chutzpah, how do you say it?
Well, I think it's one of the reasons why the critics liked it.
Probably.
No fooling around.
No, sure.
As a storyteller, looking at it from the outside in, I think that's one of the reasons why the critics seem to appreciate it more than the quote fans.
The quote unquote fans. Yeah. I think that I like, I had no problem with what they did with Luke. I thought it was fine. A lot of people don't, and that's cool because he is a beloved character. I didn't have any problem with Leia using the Force. I thought that was an amazing fake out when you think she's dead.
Yeah.
And then they're zooming in on her, and you're like, oh, don't show me this. And then she flies. I thought it was great.
I liked it too.
Yeah, no problem with. And I had no problem with Benicio del Toro's character turning out to really be a scoundrel and not just the next Lando Calrissian.
I didn't have a problem with him being a scoundrel. I had a problem with that was my third issue, is he just was underused as an actor. He's such an amazing actor, and I didn't like how his character turned out.
Did you catch he was basically doing James Dean with a stutter?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I did.
We got 30 seconds.
I did find out that his name DJ stands for Don't Join.
Okay. I got to end us there. Those are good. That's a good way to end us. Guys, thanks so much for being on. There's so much more we could go into here. And I got to end us on the favorite bad joke of the year is see you next year.
Convene all ships on Endor. I want the moon obliterated and the rebels wiped from the face of the galaxy.
Sorry, sir. Actually, we can't. The rebels have won.
What do you mean they won? We have tens of thousands of ships. We control countless worlds.
Yeah.
We have millions of troops at our disposal.
But they just blew up the second Death Star and killed the Emperor.
So?
So that means they won.
How does that mean they won? They blew up the first Death Star years ago and the fighting continued.
Yes, but they didn't kill the Emperor. They had to do both.
We can't fight back.
No, sorry. This is the end of the Empire.
Really?
Yeah, afraid so. That's it then.
What do we do now?
I guess we could go get a massage.
Let's do that.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.